repartidas a lo largo del día, pero no duermen en el sentido...
Hola? No, no, tranquili, boludo. Ya te dije te voy a llamarte, ¿sí? No, porque todavía tengo que hacer una cosa de laburo. Sí. Dale, chao.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Before my first trip to Argentina, I wanted to have a more authentic experience. I wanted to be able to talk to the locals, I wanted to make small talk with my Uber drivers, and go out at 1 a.m. and order empanadas in broken Spanish. So one day, I was sitting and thinking to myself,
You know, I should learn Spanish.
so here I am, one too many cervezas later, and I am learning Argentine Spanish for my travels to South America. The only problem was, before my first trip, I didn't know if my Spanish was good enough after only 9 months. After banging my head on the wall, I was finally ready to take my trip. But this just begs the question, do you even need Spanish to travel to Argentina? Well, the answer may surprise you. According to studies on English proficiency in Latin America, Argentina actually ranks #1 in almost every major study. Argentina received massive waves of immigration from Europe in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Millions of people arrived from places like Italy, Spain, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom. And that helped create a culture that's historically been more connected to Europe and international business than the rest of Latin America. But this is where a huge asterisk needs to be placed on this video. Because while yes, you're definitely going to hear English in places like the airports or touristy attractions or hotels and neighborhoods like Palermo, my experience was quite a bit different than what these rankings would suggest. Outside of those areas, I really didn't run into many situations where I could actually speak in English. I had to fully fall back on my Spanish. But that's honestly to be expected. You should never go to someone else's country and expect them to speak your language, no matter the circumstances. Even in places that depend heavily on tourism, most people are still just living their normal lives. They're going to work, spending time with their family, talking to friends, and they're doing it all in Spanish. I've always just believed if you're a guest somewhere else, whether it be someone else's house or someone else's country, you should adapt to them and not the other way around. And that's the exact reason I spent so much time learning Argentine Spanish before my trip. But was it enough? Kinda. At the time of my first trip, I had a basic level of Spanish, okay? I had a survival level of Spanish. I could do things like order at a restaurant, I could ask for directions, I could even have a small conversation with someone as long as they were being patient with me, right? And speaking of which, that's probably the most memorable experience that I had during my first trip. I remember it was a flight to Mar del Plata. The lady next to me asked me a question in Spanish, and that question turned into a 45-minute conversation. Obviously, no, we weren't discussing philosophy and we weren't solving the mysteries of the universe or anything, but it was all in Spanish, even though I probably sounded like Tarzan.
Tarzan.
And that was the first full conversation that I had with someone who wasn't like a teacher or a tutor or anyone like that, right? That was my first real conversation. And I think at that point, something had changed, okay? I think I had changed a little bit because I didn't really feel like a tourist any longer at that point. I didn't feel like someone who was observing Argentina from the outside because I was actually participating in it, right? I was actually someone who was participating in it in Spanish. I was asking questions. I was making mistakes. I was being corrected on those mistakes. I was doing all of this in Spanish for my first time, so I felt like I was actually a part of it. Obviously, that sort of experience would have never happened if I were to only try to do my trip in English. One thing that I quickly learned is Argentines are incredibly warm and social people. If you're genuinely making an effort to speak Spanish, most people are going to be more than happy to meet you halfway. They'll try to encourage you, help you find the right word, and try their best to understand everything that you're saying, even if you sound like a 5-year-old trying to put together their first sentence. Listen, don't stress, okay? I get it. Learning another language, it's hard, okay? It's hard. That's the truth. It's hard, all right? There are all these videos out there. Learn Spanish in 30 days. Have a fluent conversation with a native in 30 days, okay? It's bullcrap. It is bullcrap. Learning a language is hard, all right? It's intimidating. I still get nervous whenever I go order food from a local Mexican restaurant, okay? And trust me, my trip had its embarrassing moments. One of the embarrassing stories that I have from my trip, I was taking an Uber, okay? I was taking an Uber and I was trying to make some small talk with my Uber driver. And he was asking me how I'm enjoying Argentina for the first time and where it was my first time, not only in Argentina, but also outside of my country. I wanted to make like a little joke with him. I wanted to say like it was scary or something like that. So the phrase that I wanted to say and the phrase that I tried to say was me da miedo. Okay, that's basically like something scary to you, you know, or something scares you. But the phrase that I used was me da mierda. Mierda. Okay, and if you don't know what mierda means, I'm gonna put it on screen. Okay, so I basically said it, me da mierda. All right, and obviously that doesn't make any sense. So the Uber driver, I could see him make eye contact with me through his rearview mirror. So he looks at me and he goes, "¿Cómo?" And I thought maybe he just couldn't hear me because of the traffic or because it was loud outside or something. So I kind of cleared my throat and I said it again, but louder. Me da mierda, okay? So obviously he looked very confused, and I don't think he said anything to me after that. I think he was probably like, what the hell is this gringo talking about? But no, seriously, obviously, funny story, embarrassing story, but mistakes happen. You have to make mistakes to improve. You cannot be afraid. A lot of people are afraid to try to speak because, oh, I'm going to make a mistake. Of course you are. You're new. You're new at something. You're trying something very hard for the first time. You're going to make mistakes. But it's okay. It's a part of the learning process. So just don't stress, all right? Just don't tell someone, me da mierda, okay? Believe me. Now, before anyone decides to panic and cancel their trip to Argentina, no, you do not need Spanish to visit Argentina, okay? You do not need Spanish to visit Argentina. Millions of tourists visit Argentina every year without speaking a word of Spanish and have an amazing time. You'll find English menus, English signs, and there are enough English speakers in the most tourist-heavy areas that you'll get by. So if you're planning a trip to Argentina and you haven't started learning Spanish yet, don't stress, okay? Because you can still go to Argentina and have an incredible time without any Spanish whatsoever. But if you were to ask me, do I think it's worth learning Spanish before you go? Absolutely. Okay, absolutely. Okay, because in Argentina, yes, the sights are amazing. The food is amazing. The landscapes are amazing, okay? But what I enjoyed more than anything wasn't a building or wasn't a landscape, it was the people. It's the random conversations with people like Uber drivers or people sitting next to me on flights or with waiters. And to all the strangers who were patient enough with me and listen to me absolutely butcher their language, okay? Because 9 months prior to that, I could not even count to 10 in Spanish. Literally, I could not count to 10 in Spanish. I was in the same situation that you are in right now. I was sitting there wondering to myself, was it even worth the effort of learning Spanish? And now, it's opened so many new doors for me. Friendships, experiences, opportunities, all of which I would have never had otherwise. So if you're sitting there thinking about learning Spanish before your first trip to Argentina, you don't need to be perfect or fluent. You don't even need to be good at Spanish, okay? The only thing that you need to do is just put yourself out there. You just need to put yourself out there and realize that you are going to make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, like literally all the time, okay? But with our mistakes, sometimes we have such a fear of making mistakes that we let it hold us back from doing the things that we want to do. You just have to do it, okay? You just have to do it and realize it's part of the learning process. It's a part of leveling up. For me, it's my process. I am still in the process of learning Spanish. I mean, I'm still in the process of doing a lot of things in my life. This channel is not just about learning Spanish. This channel is about me growing as a person over my life. That is why my channel is the name for what it is. My channel's name is Jordan in Progress because I, Jordan, I'm in progress of many things that I want to accomplish in my life. So once again, thank you so much for listening to me ramble about something that really means a lot to me. It means a lot to me that I can talk about these things and I have someone to listen to me talk about these things. So Thank you so much. As always, I continue to look forward to improving my Spanish. That way I can see and implement that Spanish for my next trips in Latin America, which I'm planning on doing many more journeys. So yes, once again, thank you so much again for watching, and I will talk to you soon.